It's a glorious day in the world of football. Anthony Richardson is starting officially for the Colts in week 1. So you know what that means, guys. It means it's time to hit a Best Ball Mania 4 draft. I, of course, just wrapped one up with my pal Pete Overzet. And the good news, if you're watching this one live, we have a bunch of spots in this room. So please get in and join me here. Looks like we have about 6 spots left. So we'll fill this one. We'll talk about all stuff going on. I, of course, appreciate all of you guys who follow over from the Pete Overzet channel, the illustrious Pete Overzet channel. And if you are new to the Splash Play channel, strap in, guys, because there are 5 days a week of drafts on here until the season starts. And Lord knows I'm going to do my best to make them worth your time and mine. But feeling pretty good about that last draft. Feel like if you didn't see that one, make sure to check it out. A lot of values going there. It seems like whenever there is chaos in these rooms, whenever there's a little bit of that, there's a little bit of opportunity as well to get some nice values, to get some different players in. So I appreciate the opportunity that room gave me, and I'm glad to draft some teams today. Looks like we got one more spot left to go, so make sure to get in here. Of course, Best Ball Mania 4, the biggest prize pool in best ball. Best ball? How did I say that? $3 million to first place. I worry sometimes that the Philly accent is starting to rub off on me, and I do not want that for myself. But we got a filled room here. I am in the non-influential 9 spot. Some familiar names here. We got Sam Duell, the Icon, and I'm not sure anybody else I recognize. 10 Minute. There we go. So there's some familiar names here. We'll see what they do in this draft room. But yes, that is why if you are tuning into the stream here, I am wearing the jersey because I've already gotten my share of AR for the day. But I will maybe get another one here because, as I talked about, I don't think the ADP had baked in the fact that he was potentially a guy who could start in week 1. Obviously, I think the potential was baked in, but the fact that it wasn't a certainty, I think that's how the markets have treated everything. Was the markets like certainty? The markets like to know for sure this guy is going to play. He's going to get this. He's going to get this opportunity every single week. I think knowing that AR has that opportunity now, very excited to see it, very excited to see him develop in front of our eyes. And I think genuinely very of the belief that he will be the Steph Curry of the NFL in terms of how he's perceived by kids, hopefully including my son, Luca. That's the one way we could fight off him being an Eagles fan, is him really loving Anthony Richardson just like dad. We'll see. We'll see. Got him to love Bluey over the weekend to the point where he was addicted to it and saying, "Go, Bluey." So I think I can really get him going with AR, the real Bluey, Anthony Richardson. Shout out to the chat as well. We got some Let's Go, some LFGs, 10 minutes in, Beachhead splashing here. Appreciate all you guys coming along with me for the ride here. It's been a lot of fun drafting these streams on stream with you guys. And honestly, for me, this is like my hangout every day because still in Philly, don't have like a lot of guy friends to hang out with or the time to do so. So these streams to me, definitely ones that I enjoy. And I love when my guy friends draft Travis Kelce in the 2-hole. That's what I want my bros to be doing, is going to Travis Kelce at a spot where nobody takes him. Got him yesterday in the 12-hole when I was streaming with our pal Bindles. And today he goes in the 2-hole to this guy, JSB or JSR in the 2-hole. Definitely overweight on Colts, hoping for good things. I mean, look, I don't know how you can't feel good about it after what he put on tape over this weekend. I think that was sort of the cosign that Shane Steichen needed. I think, too, the fact that, like, the timing of this comes where they've had a day or two to review the tape. They come in, they have another day of practice, and they go, yeah, AR's our guy. Like, I think that is a very good cosign for their belief in him, how they can use him, what he showed. And I think, too, like, he is their guy. Like, the way they wanted to protect him from that pick, I think gives you some concern about the perception of him, where obviously he is a little bit of a turnover-prone guy. Was about a 3% interception rate guy at Florida last year. But I think really, like, the fact the team wants to protect him is definitely a positive thing. So all the value got steamed out here over the course of this process. I kind of think, I'm wondering if I can Colts of personality this room into being a running back heavy room. So I'm actually going to reach for Nick Chubb here because I think it'll give some wide receiver values to this guys, but I'm wondering if it'll maybe give these running back drafters a little more confidence to spam running backs in the middle. But we'll see here. I also want to get some more Nick Chubb into my lineups overall. So I've talked about he and Bijan Robinson are the 2 running backs that I have the most faith in the world. And if we are going to take a running back in the 1st or 2nd round, so my Nick Chubb bags will increase here. I'm sure it's a surprise for you guys, but I will take Nick Chubb with this one. Spags jersey off. You need to earn the jersey every draft. You know what? Good point. Historical anomalies is right. You guys are getting me to strip early on here. Woo! Take it off. Oh, my hair's all over the place. Free drinks, guys. Tip your strippers here on stream. Oh, it's a forward hat day. There we go. Ooh, the views went up as I took clothes off. I can only presume that's a sign that what the public really wants. They're like, stop drafting these teams. Just get naked, Spags. And I get it. I get it. Spags, what are your thoughts on Dalvin to the Jets and Brees? We talked about this a little bit on the last show, so if you want to hear Pete's thoughts, make sure to check out the stream on his channel. I should keep this chat up while I talk about it. I think that this is a not great sign for Brees. I think it fits my overall thesis of the year. As I've talked about on here, I just think there's going to be less 20-touch running backs moving forward because it doesn't behoove the running backs with how they're getting squeezed in the contract world. And it also doesn't behoove the teams. Like, they've seen the efficiency of these guys go down for the most part. Like, yeah, you have your Nick Chubbs who fight the tide and still are good with a ton of touches. You have your Derrick Henrys who've done the same for a while. For the most part, though, like, running backs get less efficient when you give them more touches. So I think overall, it's just less likely you're going to see more 20 or more touch backs moving forward. So I think it's a good thing overall from that perspective that you now have that clarity about it. And I do get Devontae Adams on the way back here, so I'm just going to scoop that one up. Right. Because Garrett Wilson already went. I would have considered taking Garrett Wilson for the week 17 correlation, but no, we will take the slightly calf-strained Devontae Adams. But I think what this really does is give people on the, who have been backing Breece Hall, like, now what you're going to get. I don't think he's going to fall, or he should fall as much as he's going to, but I do think that it's really more reflective of just what football is going to be moving forward, which is that you want to have your 1A back, your 1B back, and then you want to have your specialist backs behind them. I think if anything, it just like is a really bad sign for Zonovan Knight and guys like that. Michael Carter, like, those guys are getting no work at all. But Breece is just going to get less work, but he was going to get less work anyway. The public just hadn't fully realized that yet, I think is the best way to look at it. But I don't think Dalvin's going to be like effective or anything. I think he's just going to get his 10 touches. Breece will get his 15 touches, maybe some split in between there. But I think that's just what it's going to be, is that these guys are just the modern running back. It's going to be guys that are just going to get less work overall and hopefully be more effective with it. And hopefully they'll save their bodies more too. I know for me, and this is kind of a downer thing to talk about, but like, Alex Collins, when I saw the news about him passing away, I was like, oh shit, is he another guy that had CTE from taking too many hits and getting too many touches for a few too many years, and motorcycle accident? Obviously not quite that. But that's the concern, I think, with a lot of these things, is that, these guys have been beating themselves up for a while. And now they're not getting the money show for it. So you kind of do want to see them just get less work overall, even though fantasy-wise, obviously, the goal is always volume. I think you're going to see a lot more running backs be more efficient with less touches. It's my hope. Analytically, that's what it should be. Do you think Zach can be last year Jamal Williams, this year TD Vulture? It's possible. They gave Ramondre a good amount of work last year in the red zone, but it was something where Damian Harris being out obviously affected that a little bit. I don't know that they view Ramondre as being this like sledgehammer bell cow back who needs to get every possible touch. Feels like they like to use him a little bit more in the pass game. So I think it's possible that Zeke gets that work. The issue for me is I don't think the Patriots offense is going to be so explosive like Detroit was. And Detroit too, like, had a lot of run bad last year with Amon-Ra St. Brown, where the amount of times that guy stopped within the 5-yard line. Same thing for Swift too. Those guys just got stopped a lot there. And if they did break into the end zone, you probably don't see Jamal Williams get 18 touchdowns. You see him get 9 touchdowns. So I think I don't know that there is a Jamal Williams this year, but I don't think the Patriots offense overall is good enough to create a Jamal Williams, whether it be Zeke or not. Zach, get the Kenneth Walker 3 exposure up. Stop with the Sharps nonsense. That is a take I don't agree with at all. Love my guy G Benz here. Left a very nice comment on the channel yesterday, which I appreciated. But no, I think that Charbonnet is the much better back, personally. I like guys that add value with every touch they get. That's why I talk a lot about the estimated points added metrics, the DVOA metrics as well. Those are things that I think are really important for when you are looking at these teams, because basically guys like Charbonnet, they come into the league and they have been so good in college, whereas Kenneth Walker in college was like pretty good at avoiding tackles, was not good at sort of adding value play after play. He comes into the pros, comes as home run hitter, and now people expect that to happen every time, and it's more likely that he ends up being a little bit less efficient and maybe breaks a few less of those home runs. But for me, the big takeaway from the weekend was just Charbonnet running so violently. Like I've talked a lot about that on the stream, but running backs who hit that hard, who also are analytically sound, like those are the guys that I want to make my biggest bets on. So I will not be moving the Kenneth Walker way, even if I get wanting to be with the field on him at least, but probably not going to be for me. Team Charbonnet, ride or die. Really light on Hall, so I welcome this chance. Now I need a report to knock Waller down a few pegs. Look, I've said it a bunch on these streams. Oh, here we go. Amari Cooper falls back to us. That's nice. So we do get Cleveland here, can fully build this one out. As I've talked about here, I think if you're full stacking Cleveland up, you do maybe want to get Nick Chubb as part of that, even though obviously he's not going to correlate perfectly with the pass game. If he does get an increase in pass work, or if this Cleveland offense is just really good and scores a lot of points, Nick Chubb is going to be the one that cleans that up. So getting Chubb and Amari Cooper, I think, is a build that I enjoy quite a bit to start here. But yeah, with Waller and Hall and all that stuff, it's still to me about like, what if one of these guys scores 50 points in week 17 or whatever? Like, yes, that is the guy you needed to win it all. For the most part, though, it just comes down to your roster overall. Like, if you didn't get Breece Hall, did you get a Devin A. Chain who exploded in the in the 11th round? Did you get some other guy late? Did I don't know, Cam Akers? I'm thinking things that I did last draft, but did Cam Akers fall to you in a nice way and have a good run to end the year? I think that's stuff that matters the most. So I would worry less about individual players. Like, I obviously think a guy like Christian Watson can beat ADP and explode and can break an entire BBM4. But besides that, it's like most of these guys are going to be flat for the most part. And even then, like, I believe that about Christian Watson, but I only have 30% because I know if Watson doesn't go off in week 15, 16, 17, it doesn't really matter what he does the previous 14 weeks other than helping me advance. We're on the clock. So let's make a pick here. We're building Cleveland. Vegas, Cleveland, nothing Jets related here unless we were going to go crazy. Honestly, I'm surprised Breece didn't fall, but okay, he goes 38 in this draft. I'll get a Jerry Jeudy share, I guess. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to take Jeudy here. Was maybe thinking about going Chicago's way again, seeing if I could push Justin Fields down by taking DJ Moore a little bit early. Worked out well for me yesterday in the video that we put up here on the channel, or the stream we put up. But I'll take Jeudy here, a guy that I could use some more exposure to, and maybe we'll get some Chargers back, but probably not. Probably not. Keep seeing Ramondre in the third, but it's just non-badge players. Ken's is high T vibing. There we go. Ramondre, yeah, going 31 here. Feels like this room did not acknowledge any of the changes in landscape for Ramondre or Breece. And you're going to run into that in some rooms. I bet, and I haven't done a DraftKings draft yet, I bet on DraftKings is where you could probably scoop Ramondre 50, maybe, I might be pushing a little bit, but mid 40s. I got Ramondre at 41 in the last draft on Underdog, but I feel like on DraftKings is probably where you're getting Breece mid 50s, Ramondre maybe mid 40s. But on Underdog, I think people know to not overreact that much and probably view it the way that Pete talks a lot about things, where was this baked into the ADP already or not? And I think enough people feel like the Ramondre stuff was baked into the ADP. I tend to think that people thought a little more volume was going to be there. So I don't know, but I'm a guy who's drafted Pierre Strong in parts of this offseason. So your mileage may vary with that. Did Zay Flowers just go? Yes, he did. Zay Flowers going. Oh boy. All right. So this is going to be one of those drafts. Strap in, guys. But Zay Flowers goes at 43. I guess the Lamar drafter really wanted him. I didn't see that being a timeout. You guys in chat might have seen it better than I did. So I don't know if that was a star thing and then the clock hit. I think he just thought that was where he goes. Gabe Davis at 50. Okay, guys, the room is getting a little bit stupid. So let's see if anything fun comes our way. It's August. It's August drafting. Look, if you've been following these draft streams since we've been doing them, obviously you've been doing them since February, but especially the ones starting in May and June with BBM. A lot of logical rooms out there, and we are not in one of them. We are not in one of them. They're treating us like an avalanche room, and it's not an avalanche room. Okay, let's see what we get back. Deontay 51, Gabe 50, Zay Flowers 43. Woof. McLaurin 41, even a little bit of a reach. Interesting teams. Not good teams. Interesting teams. 10 Minutes team is looking pretty good. 10 Minute knows what he's doing here. Jag 2, perhaps less so. Seems like Breece is falling more than Ramondre. I think that's because the Breece falling, like the signing of Cook, I think will be perceived as a Breece health reflection. I'm not sure if that's the case. I think it was more that the Jets wanted a veteran presence, but wanted them at their price tag. Then once Zeke goes, they could sense, again, the musical chairs of it coming, where they were going to end up without any of these these free agent running backs who are vets. So that's why I think they really jumped on Cook now. But it is odd timing, though. Like the day that Breece is coming off the PUP list is the day you sign Dalvin Cook. I don't quite get that. But it's an insurance policy, maybe an expensive insurance policy. And again, I think an insurance policy that Aaron Rodgers was politicking for. That'd be my read on it. All right, so I don't have enough shares of Justin Herbert, but I don't think this is the build to go for that necessarily. I could use a little more JSN. I don't think I need more Hawkinson, and I don't think I need more Hawkinson without Viking stuff going. So I am going to take JSN here. So we'll have Nick Chubb at running back, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and JSN. And we will see what we can get on the way back. But yeah, we'll see. I think Set Cards is also in the chat too. So he is spamming some running back or some wide receivers early, avoiding running backs early. The kind of draft we'd love to see sometimes. I hope he commits fully to the extreme 0 RB. 2 more rounds. Oh, okay. All right. He takes Herbert. Still, get to 6 through 7 Set Cards if you're watching live. Give us an extreme 0 RB here because I'm not the one who did it today. But do, of course, if you're new to the channel, do love 0 RB builds for the most part. But as I've acknowledged here, my last 27 drafts, I'm at draft number 123 here. I want to make sure to get guys in that I do have faith in that I've perhaps been blind to in the past. So for me, that really does start in the first round with Nick Chubb and Bijan Robinson, 2 guys who I've not clicked enough, I would say, relative to how I perceive them. I've been more inclined to take Adams, more inclined to take Diggs, more inclined to take Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, all the guys in that range of receiver. So that is the one thing I'm trying to course correct live as we do these drafts. So just so you guys are aware and how I'm trying to play it. There we go. All right, let's see. Set Card saying he's going to go 0 RB. I hope so. I hope we get a nice, clean 0 RB room here because I do think it might make some of these guys panic draft a little bit more. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a piggy. Me and my one running back, a little bit of a piggy. I'll play the GIF even though I have to make a pick here. Scarf them up. Scarf up your running backs, you little piggies out there, me included. All right. Kenneth Walker falling a little here. Oh, this is like a tease. They're like trying to trap me into taking Kenneth Walker. But I'm too strong here. I'm going to increase the George Pickens bags. Got to be honest, guys. I've talked about I have 30% Watson. I have less Pickens. I would like to have 30% Pickens, I think. I don't think I'm going to get there. I have 21.5% Pickens right now in Best Ball Mania. But I think for me, Pickens, one of those players that, as I've talked about, I believe in more than anything, seeing his route tree grow, seeing his ability to get yak, even if it is just one play with a safety with a bad angle. That just wasn't in Pickens' bag last year. Like, it really was not in his bag at all, was being able to take a touchdown to the house like that. So to me, like if I were to die on any hills here, we all know I love AR. The hills that I would die on this year are going to be Christian Watson and George Pickens. And I will say that as loud as I need to. But if you guys, want to fade that, please feel free. But I will believe in those guys with my life and my love. He's the best pure rusher in the league. I mean, that's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's the best pure rusher in the league. Dobbins was better in DVOA last year, was something I tweeted out. Dobbins back in practice too, a guy that's been doing a little bit of a hold in. Apparently they're close to a contract for him. I wouldn't be surprised to see a long-term deal happen for Dobbins, but we'll see. Obviously, they have a lot of running backs in tow there. They added Keaton Mitchell, was pretty good at ECU, I think, last year in terms of some of the numbers there. Good avoided tackle rate, and apparently he's looked good in camp as well as looked okay in that preseason game. Justice Hill was getting some meaningful reps there, though I think with Justice Hill, they're trying to see if they're going to keep him or not at this point with him not flashing enough. I think he's not in that Dobbins-Edwards tier, so I wouldn't read too much in that usage for Justice Hill in that one game. But for Baltimore, I think it's a Dobbins or bust kind of team. So if they give him a 3-year deal, $10 million a year, guaranteed, I feel like he'd probably take that. Spags branded die on the hill is inspiring. Look, I have player takes. I know we love structural drafting. I will always say if you're a person that wants to draft the best portfolio for yourself, just structurally draft. Just take ADP values, build your stacks, build your main game stacks around those ADP values. That's your most unique lever you have in any draft. But if you are like me and you have access to good data or you want to pay for sports info solutions or whatever, I would fully say pay for it. But I think that's something that not a lot of people have access to that data, and I'm going to inform my player takes with it. And if they're wrong, they're wrong. But 2 guys who are outliers in every number I look at were Pickens and were Christian Watson. And then also Jalen Waddle, who I love, but is a little bit harder to get reliably like those guys. I love the Watson take, just saying. I appreciate it. I think, too, if they complete that one deep pass in the Packers preseason game, I think you are seeing Watson stream up the boards a little bit more. Watson already going for the most part. Where did he go in this draft? He went 37 here. I think I'm seeing him more reliably go in the late 30s. But I think Watson, if he had that one big play in the preseason, I think he goes the Amari Cooper range a little bit more reliably, which makes me feel good because I've been taking Watson when he was in the 50s at one point. But he is just the guy that I think has a lot going for him and a lot that I want to be aligned with. This guy, Jag, by the way, he's just reaching everywhere. It takes 2 at 78. Tua falls in so many rooms. I would not have minded another share of Michael Pittman here to build out some AR, but we won't go that way. We'll see. Maybe you could still take AR on this draft, but not a priority. But we'll probably, yeah. All right. Probably a running back. Actually, no, maybe not. Maybe not. See what Vinny does here, what my cousin Vinny does. Okay, he does not take Quentin Johnston, who, for Quentin Johnston, I know people might be spooked by the drop stuff. If you want to just go back a few years, let's not forget, Jamar Chase was suffering heavily from drops in his rookie preseason as well. But Quentin Johnston, the usage there is the thing that I'm looking at. Still some concern that like he's going to be just kind of in a quagmire with Josh Palmer to start the year. But Johnson to correlate here with our little bit of Jerry Jeudy. I think we've done pretty good getting some week 17 micro correlations here. The team so far, Nick Chubb at running back, at receiver, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, JSN, George Pickens, Quentin Johnston. So Johnson correlating with Jeudy, Smith and Jigba correlating with Pickens. And we'll see maybe if we can get some Indianapolis later on. It's not a snipe. I don't think it's a snipe. I'm sorry you wanted more guys with your Herbert, but I'm taking talented receivers always. And also, he's after ADP. I will say, just to correct the language here, because it bothers me when people say, like, oh, you're sniping. It's not sniping, A, when it's not the QB, B, when it's after ADP. Like, I know it sucks when you can't get your guy when, like, they don't fall right to you. It's still not a snipe for a position player. Like, we all have to draft position players. I can't draft only correlated players. Jags drafting like a Jag. There you go. Also, Consigliere, I did see your chat before about bringing your daughter to school and thought that was very cute, but I didn't want to interrupt Pete when he was talking about it. So, but shout out to Consigliere. Shout out to all the dads bringing their kids to school. I am on pickup duty with Luca. So that is my lot in life. The mornings go to mom, and good for her. Because daddy can't function if he is not getting at least 6 to 7 hours sleep. All right, Dallas Goedert goes to set cards. So you got a fucking great pick for set cards anyway. So I think you did better than getting Quentin Johnston. You're welcome for that one. I'm going to take Deshaun here. I'm not going to push him any further. Again, we do want to get this Cleveland stack. I don't consider Amari Cooper. I do consider Amari Cooper an important part. I don't consider Elijah Moore a must-have part. So I'm pretty content getting Chubb and Cooper as my stack with Watson. Would love to get JSN would love to get Njoku on the way back. But I think that might be pushing it. Hard to expect Njoku to fall past 100 every draft. It's possible, but I don't think it's a likelihood necessarily. Yeah, go Mrs. Spags, go Mrs. Spags, resentfully taking the morning. No, she's more of a morning person. I am more of an afternoon person. I don't know what the best way to put that would be. But she is willingly taking that brunt. So yes, that is an important part I will recommend to all the future dads out there or new dads. It's all about keeping the wife sane and then trying to keep yourself sane after she is sane after that. But let's see what the teams are doing here. So Kenzo's got no QBs yet, taking some interesting players. I'll point out again, I don't believe in unstacked DJ Moore. The main way that DJ Moore has the outlier year to pay off this ADP would be him actually having Justin Fields be good or even okay. If Justin Fields is okay, that means he's in the hunt to be the QB1 on the year. So I'll say that take a lot because I really do think that if you take Moore without Fields, the bet doesn't make sense. Like you can maybe take a squint in your eyes and take a Mooney. You can take a Cole Kmet without Fields just because those guys are positions that you need to fill sometimes with where those ADPs are. But for Moore to pay off an ADP here next to luminaries like Zay Flowers, he's going to need Justin Fields to be competent. And if Justin Fields is competent as a passer, he's going to get there with everything else. So like Pete and I talked about last stream, I'm happy to have over 8% Fields now. I would not want to be under the field on Justin Fields. No pun intended. Yeah, take it from me, kids. Taking care of your kids and your wife can be a burden sometimes. Hey, yeah, the old battle axe is what we say. Me and Kevin James on King of Queens. That's how we refer to our wives. You like taking your clothes off and you like getting Chubb. I mean, when else are you going to get Chubb if you're not stripping live on a stream? I don't miss running kids around. The joys of being old and cranky. Gives me more time here. That is fair. You know, look, I think there's a lot of validity out there too. Love Luca, love our son, great stuff, but a lot of validity to being a dual income, no kid family, because you can just travel and go to dinners and have a good time, have private time for yourself, go on vacations. But you know, you make a sacrifice here. I figure if guys like you in the chat, if guys like me, if we're not putting kids into the world, it's all buffoons out there creating kids. And You don't want that. You got to do your job and create somebody who's going to add value to the world and be a best ball degenerate. You got to raise them right. You don't want to raise a bunch of kids who are only doing straight money line bets. That's what the world would do if we don't have kids. Dual income, no kids here. I love drugs. Sums it up well. Same here. You can be a responsible parent and still at least smoke weed. I don't know. Alex did some microtripping of shrooms while she was on her bachelorette this weekend. So I think it's possible. It's possibly functional. At least with weed, it's definitely easy. You can do both. Just don't do it in front of the kid, because then they know and they'll rat you out. All right. Dalvin Cook goes at 104 here. Interesting given how highly he is going in some other drafts. I'm glad to get Njoku back. Would definitely need to go on a run at running back. But I think, again, if you're getting this pure brown stack here, it's Watson, it's Chubb, it's Cooper, it's Njoku. I've been wanting this pure brown stack for a while, but I keep getting sniped on one part of it. So actually pretty glad that we were able to do this today on stream. The green check mark. I think it's funny. I appreciate everybody who files in and tells me the AR news as though we didn't get that immediately in chat. But yes, a great day here. If you missed it earlier, AR is officially going to be the week 1 starter. Definitely was some concern that he could start after the bye week, but it does feel like officially he will be starting. I mean, obviously he will officially be starting. But also, man, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see my bet materialize over the course of a year. Very proud of my son and all that with what he's doing. He's communicating better. I could start to, talk about stuff again, can be addicted to Bluey and trying to get me to put him on or put her on. Bluey's a girl, by the way. You need to know that. But point being, I think that I'm going to be as proud of AR as I am my own child. He does anything good. We're on the clock here. Definitely some running backs at this point. And I don't see any issue taking Rashad Penny with one. I know people, so the DeAndre Swift usage is kind of interesting in that preseason game because I've seen both sides of the argument made. And that was the thing that Pete and I talked about a little bit on Splash Play on his channel here. Again, watch that if you haven't already. But also you really can read anything into these teams and go off of that, where I know that, the usage for DeAndre Swift, it was a lot of snaps for Trey Sermon, a lot of snaps for Rashad Penny, not a lot of snaps for Swift. But then there are people who think that's Swift because he broke one big run that the team was like, all right, we've seen enough now. You don't need to do any more. I just tend to think that's Swift. If we are going to see Kenneth Gainwell have that feature back role or something similar to it, I think that DeAndre Swift is a little bit less live for a lot of work than Rashad Penny is. Whereas I think with Rashad Penny, the reason he got so many snaps is let's see what he can do. We know the base formation stuff is there. Let's see if we can do some different builds or some different types of formations there. So that's something for Penny that I think bodes well for him. I worry about Swift relative to ADP. I think he should have started to come down to where Penny was a while ago. And now with Gainwell steaming up, I think Swift's going to start to come down. So if you're wrong about reading the tea leaves on how he was using that game, you could really be left holding the bag with DeAndre Swift. So that's my concern. But I think if I'm going to go on the record with it, I think that Penny is competing for a big share. I think Swift is competing for home run usage that's similar to Gainwell's usage. But people view it differently. So I don't know. But I think it's an interesting thing to debate, and definitely one of those where I think it's like Houston, where I don't think we learned enough from the first preseason game because of how the team approached it, where Houston held out Pierce. It might be because he was a little bit banged up, might be because they view him as a central piece of what they're doing. Same thing for Gainwell and Boston Scott. Those guys got held out because they know that Philly offense so well. But then Swift not getting a full role, and I don't know. It worries me enough with Swift. I don't think you need to not draft him or anything, but with any of these guys, take him after ADP if you can. Swift is going to be this year's Josh Jacobs. Inherently, that can't be the case because he's on a different team and all that, but maybe. I'm a Swiftie. Why do you think Pacheco is falling outside pick 100? I was out at pick 80 or so, but 101 is crazy. It's honestly just because of concerns about CEH, concerns about, I guess, the Derek Prince being there, still vague concerns about maybe a veteran back, even though I don't think that Kansas City is a team to do that. But I think it's just people not seeing Pacheco play. The one thing that I feel like has really been cemented to me this offseason with basketball drafting is that people just need to see the thing happening in real time, because Pacheco is still not getting real reps with the labrum issues, or his recovery rather from the labrum issues. I think that's what's leading to people just not wanting to draft Pacheco, is that they're just afraid of him not getting the same role or getting the role that was aligned with his ADP. I still think he's the RB1, but it's going to be a committee. It's still going to be, he's not an RB1 getting 20 touches. He's an RB1 getting hopefully 10 to 15 high value touches. But I think some people don't like that. And they don't like that, especially if they haven't seen it yet in a preseason game or in practice where he hasn't been full go yet. At least the last that I checked. All right. So we are on the clock here. We have Geno falling a little bit. Definitely need some more running backs too. But boy, this running back room really gotten dried out fast. I am going to take Geno for the JSN correlation. Charbonnet's gone, so I really can't double up this stack. I guess I could take a Noah Fant late. Jake Bobo is a name that sounds like I just made it up. But I do think Jake Bobo is kind of interesting as an 18th round pick. He's been competing for the wide receiver 4 role for Seattle and has been a killer in camp. Also really jumped out with his numbers at UCLA and the stuff that I look at, the EPA per target numbers. So maybe this is a spot to take Jake Bobo in the 18th round. His name is so silly, but maybe not. I just wanted to say, like, I'm planning a flag at 18th round, maybe a 20th round in DraftKings, a flag for Jake Bobo, who has been looking pretty good and made a lot of sense. Dreaded week 5 QB stack. We're talking for me. Oh, yep. Yeah, we got 2 guys on bye. Oh, well. We'll see if we add a third or not. I can go either way. Again, for somebody who advanced his finalist team with Trey Lance last year, I still worry about the QB buy stuff way too much, where it doesn't matter that much as long as you get the one QB being good enough. So it depends, I guess, where you're going. But like Deshaun could give me, enough usable weeks, and certainly Deshaun and Geno combined can give me enough usable weeks to make up for a 0 in week 5. But we'll see how the room falls to me, and if I do go for a third one. Pick coming up here. What do I have to do? 2261. Absolutely need running backs. McKinnon's a value at this point. Gainwell's not. Jesus. I am going to take a share of Jerick McKinnon. Not a player I'm dying to get. Still got work, in the preseason, getting work overall and training camp and all that. So McKinnon, I think, is still live for a role. It's just hard to be excited about a guy that is getting to be his age, that we know they really slow rolled last year. Certainly had the spike weeks in week 14 on, but a guy that in the beginning of the year, they clearly did not want to use him a bunch because they're trying to save him, much like my thesis is for a guy like Christian McCaffrey, trying to save him a little bit more for the run to the playoffs and in the playoffs. But I think he, at this far past ADP, I agree McKinnon feels so last year, but he did give us like a lot of spike weeks just at the end of last year too. So I'm willing to take him here because of the ADP fall, but not one of my favorite picks for sure. Jake Bobo is Dorian Thompson-Robinson's favorite target, 25 years old, and a horrible 40 time is the only problem. Yeah, like he's obviously not a high draft capital guy. The age is not great. But in terms of like if one of these Seattle guys goes down, he's probably more the contingent value. I could see him having one spike week. Like Jake Bobo is kind of Trenton Irwin. I gotta say, I don't know if you guys are always with me following these like shitty wide receiver depth chart things. I love having a show where I could say, yeah, Jake Bobo gives you a whiff of Trenton Irwin, and having that be a take that I think is very valid, and that some people out there will be like, that makes sense. Jake Bobo is kind of a Trenton Irwin. That's what Splash Play is, guys. Speaking of, if you like that granular level of knowledge accumulation here, subscribe down below. Again, Splash Play on the march to 3,000 subs. 5 days a week of draft streams here until the season starts. Then once the season starts, we move into DFS mode. We move into Battle Royale mode. We move into prop betting mode. We'll have a lot of content here this year that'll be new and exciting and keep it fresh for me and for you guys. But please subscribe here and help us out, because I think about 48% of the people watching Splash Play streams right now are not subscribed. And it would take just one click for you to really help me out, to really help a brother out who hasn't been paid by Football Outsiders in 4 months. So help a brother out. 4 months. 4. Fun times here. That's why we embrace the drafting process. Bobo over Will Fuller. I mean, relative to the current NFL, absolutely. He's white. Speed doesn't need to be in his game unless he previously played lacrosse a la Chris Hogan. That's a take. That's a take. I think at some point in the world, you're going to see like fast white guys again. You're starting to see really good American white basketball players again. Like Cooper Flagg is a beast who's got just matriculated to the 2025 class, I think, or whatever, 2024. But there's some guys there that are on the come up. So the run for great white Americans Still here. That's why Luca, my son, will be the next great white hope. We can all agree. I don't love him either, but at round 12, that's worth a look. Yeah, I agree with McKinnon. Look, I mean, getting any share of a good team is like an important thing. I think that's something we sometimes lose in best ball, where it's fun to hypothesize about the young guys on the upswing. It's fun to hypothesize about a lot of this stuff. But like for a guy like McKinnon, like he's on a team that's going to be a Super Bowl contender. There's going to be touchdowns to go around there. They're going to be competing for a bye, competing to win their division. That's all stuff that matters a lot. So like taking shares of guys like Penny and McKinnon, even if they're not the best back in that room, in terms of fantasy production, like you just want shares of good players. Or good teams rather. So I'm going to take Tyler Algier here just because we are trying to get talent in. I don't know why this room wants every running back but Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier, great leverage against Bijan Robinson. I think you can sometimes draft them together, probably not too often, but I talked myself into that yesterday. So I'll say it out loud as something that I did on stream. But Algier, just a guy who's going to get work. He's higher in the depth chart than Bijan right now. But just this is going to be a team that runs the ball a lot. So I don't know why Algier would be the one back falling here in this room where they're reaching for Roshan. Weird room with running backs. Just started Tyreek, Devontae, Higgins, Brees on DK. Any thoughts on that? I like that start. I mean, I think that's a really good one. Anytime you're getting Devontae in the second with a stud receiver ahead of him in the first round, I think looks pretty good. Higgins, too, a little bit lower on DK, so he's easier to grab there. The Brees part of it, you could probably get him a little bit cheaper in some DK rooms, but I mean, that's the kind of start that I would like for sure. No issue at all. Riley Moss. Now we're just naming fast white guys. Love to see it. There's some like white cornerback who I feel like I saw either an Athletic feature on or an ESPN feature on where he was like, I want to be the guy that brings back white cornerbacks. And if you're my age, you might remember Jason Sehorn being a guy that was around for a while as like the only white cornerback in the league. But I think maybe there's an upswing in white cornerbacks. Honestly, the weird one, and I'm sorry for the Chris Rock style racial joke humor that we're doing here. I think there could be a run on white running backs coming up because of the fact that like they might not be as good of an athlete who could move to another position. And then they could just be like Evan Hull out there for Indianapolis, just taking touches up the middle. I don't know. Just a pet theory that I have nothing to back out and nothing to support it with. I think we can get a little micro correlation with Deonta Foreman here. That would make sense. I have enough Kendre Miller. I have enough Devin Singletary. I have so much Roshan. I think I can take Foreman here. So the team so far, Watson and Geno Smith at QB, a running back, Nick Chubb, Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier, and the white photo here of Deonta Foreman, and then Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, JSN, George Pickens, Quentin Johnson, a receiver, along with a tight end, David Njoku. There we go. Fullbacks who can catch. Fullbacks are out of vogue in the league, but I do think that, yeah, if I were a person who didn't have great athleticism at this point and was trying to become a football player, I think being a running back who's got like Kyle Juszczyk's skill set wouldn't be the craziest outcome to at least have a career in football. But you're kind of minimizing your potential landing spots because even like I think the Chiefs aren't going to carry a fullback this year, and there are a lot of teams now that are less likely to have a fullback, but. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting to think about that though. Cause I remember when I was a kid or maybe like a little bit younger, that people were like, if you're going to raise your kid to do a sport, it's like they play golf because not enough people play golf. Now every kid grew up learning to play golf. Like what would you have your child play now if you wanted to be an athlete and give them a realistic shot? And it could be like just playing running back because people don't want to play it. Like, I think that could be the way to have a shot there. If you get a big, beefy child out of yourself, then you can maybe try to get him out there. Gus Edwards at 170. It's been a weird draft. Like, I don't know that this team is my favorite team in the world. We got some value. We got some good players at both running back and receiver. The QBs aligned and were pretty okay discounts. So, like, I don't mind this team, but this room just gave some weird pockets. Like, weird pockets, weird teams on their parts. I don't know. Realistic shot in becoming a professional athlete don't belong to the same statement, TBH. Also fair. The best shot you can have. How about we phrase it like that? Also, shout out to everybody hanging out here. If you are trying to hang out here and get into a second draft, as long as the numbers keep going up here in terms of live viewers, we will hit one more draft today and then yield to the rest of the streaming community. But I do appreciate you guys being here. And again, if you enjoy these streams, if you enjoy just having something on in the background with a draft going, check out Splash Play here because I'm doing these drafts every day, every weekday rather. So, and that's going to keep going. The one thing I won't stop. How to become a Splash Play member, Bullock asks. Well, good news, Bullock. You can hit that join button down below, and for just $4.99 a month, I'll review your teams up to 10 a month, or, honestly, at this point, just send me as many as you want. Some of the guys in the chat can attest. I'm happy to give feedback on as many teams as you want, but please hit that join button down below. All right, what are we going to do here? We don't need Jerome Ford, obviously, in this build. Singletary is a nice value. I don't even think this is a 6 running back room, but this is too good for Singletary. This is where Singletary used to go when I would draft him all the time. So I will take Singletary. Sam, of course, who is Sam Dole here in the 12 volt saying, I'll say it, this draft blows. More than half the draft is blind picking. Yeah, I think that's part of the issue I've been running into, Sam. So we are on the same page. Just feels like I haven't aligned the guys I normally get in the pockets that would make sense. And we're making it work. We ran our big run at receiver, started with an anchor running back with Chubb. We're now done at running back, got a good tight end, got QBs. Not the sexiest team I'll ever build on a stream, but I think this team is at least functional for sure. There can only be one AR and he's on the Lakers. Are you really saying that Austin Reeves is the AR? Get out of here, Ethan. That's an absurd take. If you wanted to give me Aaron Rodgers and you want to go Aaron Rodgers is the real AR like Pete's done in the past, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. He's been there in terms of longevity long enough, but woof. All right. So for our Jets correlation, I don't even think this guy's going to be going in week 17, to be honest. I think Jeremy Ruckert, CJ Uzomah, those guys are just as live to take some of those reps, but I will take Tyler Conklin here as our bring back. So we have a 2-6-6-2 build. Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith at running back, Nick Chubb, Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier, Deonta Foreman, and Devin Singletary. Receiver, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, JSN, George Pickens, Quentin Johnson. Then a tight end, David Njoku, Tyler Conklin. Maybe could use a third tight end. Probably will take a 7th receiver. Don't need a running back. Don't need a QB. Or I guess theoretically need a QB because we have 2 on bye, but don't really need a QB. Did you see any correlation between the estimated total points that Underdog shows in your teams in the past? I don't even look at that. I don't think that's the right thing to look at. If you're constantly drafting teams that have like a 2,000 projection, you're probably doing something wrong. It should be closer to like 2,500 to I would say probably 3,300. It does go up too if you're drafting 3 QB builds instead of, whatever. So even if you drafted a 4 QB build, your projection is going to be higher, but I wouldn't worry about that. I would just try to make sure that you're in that, 2,300 to 3,300 range. And you're fine. Because projections, there are people who for DFS, for DraftKings, FanDuel tournaments, who argue that projections don't matter at all. It's just knowing, an ownership projection and then going off of that. I would say for best ball, they probably matter even less. Just because it's about the overall construction. It's about double stacking your QB, whatever. Underdog 2 sometimes didn't have full projections for rookies. So if you're going off of that or drafting off of that, I don't know that's going to be the best for you. That's why I draft sit and goes. Look, there's a logic for everything here. I will never be a slow drafter. I will never be into that, but I love the thrill of the fast draft, but sometimes you do get weird drafts when that happens. It's going to be the nature of things. Prioritizing QB stacks helps combat the randomness of these rooms. This draft is much smoother with a stack secured. I mean, I got mine, so I'm okay on that front. But yeah, I would agree with that. It's also too that, when you are a frequent drafter, like a lot of people in the chat are, myself included, I would say that it does become a thing where you'll have certain guys available at different times. So for me, when Bigsby goes a little bit early, when Warren goes a little bit early, when Penny went late, Pacheco went late, A-Chain went early, it's just a little bit all over the place with the guys going early, guys going late. So that's what's thrown me off a little bit. But I still feel like I got a good team out of it. It's just, it's not like my favorite team in the world, but you can't always draft your favorite team. You just got to draft structurally sound ones, like 10 Minute is saying. I like my May and June lineups a lot more than my August ones, that's for sure. Yeah, because you're getting the value and you're getting the things that you were right about that have now kind of materialized and theoretical closing line value. So I get that. For me, I would say that I think my August teams are looking a little better in terms of just value and soaking up the value. But I think for the most part, I was really ahead of the curve on a lot of guys. So I think that would favor my earlier drafts as well. I'm going to take Mecole Hardman for another Jets correlation here. I think that makes sense with this build at this point where we need a 7th receiver. Might still take an 8th, but we'll see what comes back to us. We'll also quickly plant a flag here or point out Michael Wilson coming up in ADP. So if you want to get him, probably need to get him in the 17th or 18th round now. He has been a nice 18th round click for me whenever I have any Eagles going or any sort of Cardinals bet going. But I think for Michael Wilson, he's not quite Tank Dell in terms of getting steamed up. But you could make the case that Michael Wilson should be as steamed up as Tank Dell with how he was used out there. He's probably going to lose some snaps in the beginning to Marquise Brown, but he's likely playing in 2 receiver sets where it's going to be Rondale Moore and Greg Dortch rotating in that slot spot. So just plant a flag for Michael Wilson, take him in some drafts, I think, because wasn't a guy that jumped out with anything he did at Stanford, but I think the way they're using him in Arizona bodes pretty well for him. Tyler missed the earlier stream. SMH punished me, Spag Daddy. Well, I guess you can't zoom back and watch me take off clothes earlier in the stream then. Or maybe that's the punishment. It's making him do that. Keontae Ingram goes to set cards. Interesting. Did you need a running back that bad? Yeah, I guess he did. Well, set cards is a real thin 6 RB room. Interesting. All right. Last pick of the draft. 2672. I am going to go. Do I really want to go there or do I want to go Fant? I'm going to take Josh. It's AR day. You got to take a Colt. So the final team here, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith at QB. We do have the dueling bye weeks here, but again, Trey Lance was my finalist QB last year along with Joe Burrow. I'm not going to sweat it. Nick Chubb, Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier, Deonta Foreman, Devin Singletary at running back. So we got a micro correlation here with Algier and Foreman. We got Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, JSN, George Pickens, Quentin Johnston, Mecole Hardman, and Josh Downs. Josh Downs, the luxury here, could have perhaps taken Fant as a tight end, but I have Njoku, Tyler Conklin at tight end. That is the room here. I will, of course, not make you guys wait. No disrespect to the guys at the end of the draft here. I'm sure that the icon in 10 minute will make some sick picks. But we're entering another draft here, so let's get in. I'll give you guys a little bit of a breather here. Of course, BBM 4, 67% filled. This will be my draft number 124, I believe. So get in with me. Use the promo code SPLASH. Double your deposit up to $100, and you can see me entering live. And this will be our last draft for the day. And then everybody else who streams drafts can take over here on YouTube. But fuck it. I've got you guys. I got the market cornered right now. So I'm going to ride it out. Never will you find a more addictive drafter than me. The guy who's just willing to stack them up one after the other. But we're doing it. I also clicked Michael Wilson as a week 16 bring back for the Bears. There you go. I've talked about I don't care, or I don't track week 15 and 16 correlations that much just because I do like to focus on that pure uncut week 17 stuff, that Colombian week 17 uncut. But yeah, I think that's a fair one too. If you have that stuff, you have the Draft Caddy hub that Brick has created, of course, at the draftcaddy.com. You can put in week 15 and 16 for yourself as well to see those correlations too. Just maxed BBM. It'll be nice to touch grass. Good for you, stepfathers. Congrats on maxing it out. I am trying to get as close as I can until the start of the season to get my final entries in. Of course, saving them for the draft streams as well, but also for myself. I think last year I got a little bit earlier than I would have liked. I think I was done by 3rd week of August. So this year I'll try to get to the finish line, but hit that puppy. There's a puppy out there, 200K to first place. So if you do, you want to max out a tournament and the BBMs are a little bit too expensive, which I get, just get the puppy there. I think it's $750 to max that. And you can win 200K. Hard to argue with that. What players do you want to increase your exposure on for remaining drafts, excluding AR5? Fields, I would like to get to more than the field of Fields. I talked about last stream. I'm at 8.3% Justin Fields. If I got to 12% Fields, I think I'd feel pretty good about that as long as I'm not reaching ADP wise. Besides that, I think just more Chubb and Robinson. Really, those are the two for me because I've been so light on running backs that I think that's what I need to do. I don't want to be a running back piggy. I don't wish to be a piggy today. I don't wish to be. McCaffrey's there, though, but McCaffrey falls so often. Cooper Kupp never falls. That's the logic we're going to go with here. Cooper Kupp, come on down. I think I'm under on Cooper Kupp, actually. I'm at 6.6% Cooper Cup, so that makes sense. Tyreek 11. Oh, Jamar Chase too. I would like to get closer to the field on because I don't get 102s here. I only get 101s or drafts at other spots of the board. I am only at 4.4% Jamar Chase and BBM. So I would love to level that out too. But I think the more likely one is me getting more Bijan and Chubb for my teams. BBM 4 draft number 122 for Jeremy. Good news. Jeremy always finds a way to get into these rooms. Got to give him credit. What is Ball? I don't know. Bullock's saying. I want to see you enter Tyler live. I didn't. I missed that chat. No, thank you. No offense to Tyler. Tyler's looking great. Put in some great hours in the gym. But boy, I don't. Not that good. Like not. You got to be like peak Ryan Gosling. Even then, I don't know. It'd take more than $4.99. Ross was sitting front seat of the cart before we let panic sink in too much. I'm not sure what this means, but I like it. I like it as a sentence. Number 95 for 10 minute. Feeling a little behind right now. It's tough. It's tough to maintain the pace. I know I mentioned it last year, but last year had a spreadsheet keeping track of how many drafts I had left to do. I need to hit DraftKings hard. I've actually gotten close to 100 drafts in the DraftKings Millie Maker, but I still have to hit, I think, 54 more there. So being mindful of how many you have to hit and how many days are left. That's part of why, too, every day on the streams. And I'll keep doing it. Like, we have 23s left till the season starts, 23 days left until the season starts. So, like, keep that in mind. You have 23 days left. If you have 60 entries that you want to get in, you got to be hitting, 2 to 3 a day, as a baseline. And then you can hit some more some days. But definitely be mindful of it if you are trying to max some stuff out. Didn't catch the Ramondre pitch. Yeah, we talked about this with Pete last stream, but the spoiler alert of it would be that I think this is worse for Pierre Strong and for Kevin Harris than it is for Ramondre. The team had talked about wanting to bring in a veteran running back if those two guys didn't show more. And then they had that really bad preseason game, some okay practices, but really both guys did not show anything in that preseason game. Then they bring in Zeke, like connect the dots there. I think it's really worse for those guys. But that said, for Ramondre, I've felt like he should be more of a 15. This sounds so very specific, but he should be like a 15 to 19 touchback. I don't think he should be a 20 touchback. Getting Zeke there makes it a lot less likely they'll have any chance to hit 20 touches. And some games last year, like his value did come from hitting 20 touches. See what we do here. So Derrick Henry at ADP. I think we're going to piss here. Let's go Devonta. Which, by the way, I think it's actually Devontae. Somebody on social media recently bitched about that, but it is Devontae. But yeah, for Ramondre, I just think it's basically like he's the same player it was. I've felt like Ramondre had too high of an ADP all offseason. I've said that a bunch of times on stream. I think with where he's going now, if he does land late 30s, 40, I think it's a great spot for him. I think that's where he should have been all along, accounting for this baked in issue of somebody coming in and being Damian Harris. So I think that's a good pick. I would not take Strong or Harris anymore, even though Zeke is mostly washed. I would just avoid those guys entirely. But I think for that one, like I think Ramondre gets 15 plus touches and Zeke gets you 8 to 10. Feels about right. Oh, carted off and rode shotgun. There we go. That's what Ben was talking about. Yes, with Terrace Marshall yesterday, they were like, Terrace Marshall got carted off, but he just like hurt his back and then rode in the front seat of the cart. The carts too in the preseason, I think I've mentioned on stream. Jeff Schwartz's brother who plays for the Chiefs, Mitchell Schwartz, I think he's still on the Chiefs. He was saying that basically in some training camps as well, like they have to go uphill or whatever. So even if it's a minor injury, they'll send the cart out for you. The cart matters a little bit less for preseason stuff than it does for in-game. If it's a regular season and a guy gets carted off, like you should be worried. But even then, we saw last year, DK Metcalf had to poop and he got carted off. So just trying not to overreact to anything, I feel like is a big part of having a responsible draft portfolio over the course of the entire offseason, where it's just keeping a level head. Speaking of a level head, drafting Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, not a level head. That is not a great move. But we won't get Jalen Hurts back because of that, so that's fine. So we got Rams, Philly. Jonathan Taylor falling a little, but I really don't want to go running back. I'm going to take Calvin Ridley. Then we're going to try to thread the needle of an extreme 0 RB team here. We already boxed out of one of our QBs, but we still have 2 live to get later on. And I wouldn't mind getting a little more Trevor Lawrence here if I can kind of guilt rooms that are letting me get him at an appropriate ADP around here. Pick 69 would be nice for Trevor Lawrence. Pick 76 would be even better for him. But which sometimes you can do, by the way. That is one of my little pro tips here down the home stretch. If you take Ridley and then you also, especially if you took Kirk as well, you basically can force through him to not take Trevor Lawrence. So that is something I do sometimes when I take Ridley, and I've observed it. And you can basically force Trevor Lawrence back at least 10 spots after ADP, if not more. Oof, only 57 DK Millie Maker drafts. Got some work to do. Got to tell you, if there's any draft you don't want to be behind on a bunch, and I'm saying to somebody that has to do, again, 54 drafts on DraftKings, it's so hard to multi-stable on DraftKings that, like, you don't want to be behind that far. Our boy Bullock joined here. Welcome to the community here. Welcome to the family. Welcome to Special. You know what? Whenever anybody joins the stream live, we'll go full vintage Italian stereotype. Bullock, welcome to the family. Model. This guy Bullock, he's been bouncing on my knee since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. Now he finally joins the family. Welcome to the family, Bullock. There we go. Coming up with new bits to reward you guys on the fly. Tyler has been a member for a month. Spags tell the good people about liking and subbing and membership benefits, including deck pick grading. Deck pick grading in Discord. Yes, I will grade your teams. Of course, you can send them to me on the Deposit Kingdom Discord. You can also send them to me on Twitter. DM me Chris Spags if you want. But either way, yes, if you are a member here, I'll review 10 teams a year a month. At this point, if you send me a few more, I'm not going to nickel and dime you about it. But just send them to me one at a time so I actually have a chance to like review and give you honest feedback. But basically, I approach that like I'm consulting for you as your draft expert and just try to point out things that you might be doing as a trend or whatever. So I think it adds value. But please hit that join button down below, $4.99 a month. And I appreciate you guys. And then you can get me being Italian. No, it's not racist because I'm so Italian. My last name is Spagnolo. It's as Italian as it gets, though it does mean Spanish and Italian. So maybe not. Maybe not. Seems like it's RB by committee now. What would you consider your workhorse RBs this year? None of them. I mean, any of the guys going early are going to be your workhorses. It's just the value of a workhorse doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't mean what it did when Sean Alexander ran for 5 touchdowns in a game, or LaDainian Tomlinson was getting 35, 40 touches in a game. That's what I think the main thing is just not treating anybody like they are going to for sure get a workload, because they are not going to for sure get a workload. All right, we got a falling Breece Hall. Do I want to end his fall? Or do I want to keep on pissing? I think we know the answer. Brandon Ayuk, come on down. Let's make this room take some running backs. Fuck them. Good to see you. Shout out Christopher for the super chat. Appreciate you coming here and giving some money this way. That was not the way to handle a super chat classily on my end. Good to see AR spark just enough. Will make the disappointment all the more satisfying. Well, now I'm glad I didn't handle that classily now that I've read it. But I appreciate it, Christopher. Christopher has been a guy here who's been railing against AR in the chat with me, despite us being fellow Chris's, which I always say Chris's need to support Chris's here on the channel. But I appreciate it, Christopher. You've been a worthy foil. And I'm excited. I know you will come back and you will tell me that I am right when we say AR have some big games, because that's the kind of guy you've proven to be. And I hope that's true of all of you. When AR is good this year, I hope you all come back and remember who has been fucking playing this flag since January. All the Johnny-come-latelys can put him on thumbnails now. I have been here. I discovered my joy for him in real time looking at a spreadsheet on this channel. So same thing with the rookie tight ends. I think if you have followed Splash Play since January, I think you've gotten some good intel. I would like to believe that. You can correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong. Don't correct me if you're wrong. 10-minute feeling uncomfortable this high T start. Yeah, I mean, when you see a guy pissing like I am here, 4 straight rounds of wide receivers, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Got to give you some pangs of regret. Justin Fields. Why is Justin Fields falling at all? Like, Justin Fields should have been one of the biggest risers from what we saw this weekend, where he didn't even have to throw the ball past the line of scrimmage, and he had one of the best passing games of his career. Like, Justin Fields is such a smash pick, and I am baffled by how people are treating this. Absolutely baffled. All right. 10 minutes want me to snipe him. I don't think he makes sense for this build for me. So you should be okay. I do have some 10th round AR and 3 QB teams as insurance. It's going to be funny when AR makes your lineup a lot more than you realize. All right. I think this is a receiver spot. Again, nobody correlating with what we've built so far. Like, would have liked a falling McLaurin or something to be here. Would have been pretty good. Najee is such a discount, but also such dog shit. Deontay. I hate Deontay so much. He's the right pick here, though. He's the right pick. So the team so far, piss in here again, 0 RB room. I'm saying the word piss way too much. That's Pete's trademark. Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson. There we go. Such a strange stigma around Fields from the film bros. It is odd. Fields was like in college, just a guy who got kind of lucky, really forcing the ball downfield in a way that was borderline reckless. But as we've talked about here, the two traits that I look for in running backs coming into the league are, I also look at accuracy, but I don't think that matters overall for fantasy quite as much. What matters is their willingness to run, their willingness to throw downfield aggressively. Fields has that. He just got kind of ruined by that first year with a coach who didn't know how to use him and what to do with it. So I think for him, you got to put your priors aside. And I'll point out the thing I pointed out yesterday. So we all remember the year that Fields had last year. So Fields was so great, 0.34 EPA per rush, 8.4% rushing DVOA. Those are good numbers. As a passer, though, he was a minus 0.35 EPA per pass guy, minus 35% passing DVOA. He just has to be a 0. He just has to be Colt McCoy. He just has to be league average. And if he's that, he's going to be in a Jalen Hurts tier in terms of scoring if the Bears are anything useful. So I think that's the part that people miss with Fields too, is that it's such a low bar for him to pass to be competent. And this team is, you watch at the end of last year, how they learned what he could do and what he couldn't do. And they took away the things he couldn't do and doubled down on things he could do. Now they're taking that to another level this year. I think Fields is I love AR, and obviously I couldn't stump for a guy more. But Fields, to me, if you want to talk about a guy who's just not priced to be QB1 and has a very good shot to be QB1, that is Justin Fields. So, I think he's worth it, taking him where he is. If he's going to go in the 50s, fucking smash Fields. Take Fields over Herbert. Take Fields, and I like Herbert too, but take Fields over Herbert. They have different skill sets. Fields is more fantasy friendly. Herbert's better for real life football. I still passed on Fields, yes, but now I know I'm over the field on Fields. I'm okay. Honestly, seeing that I have more than 8% Fields when we did the last stream with Pete, big relief for me, very big relief, because I was definitely worried that I was going to be under on Fields by a bigger margin, and I do not want to be under on Fields. I want to be at least with the field. It's hard to say with the field on Fields. It makes my brain hurt. But I do want to be, I would love to get to 10% Fields, if not 12% Fields. And that is going to be one of the other goals. So my 3 goals, more Nick Chubb, more Bijan Robinson, and more Justin Fields. Those are probably the big 3. Deshaun at 68. Jesus. Deshaun probably would have come back to you, set cards. Push that one pretty hard. See what we get with our picks, though. App froze. That sucks. That sucks. More Howell. Howell, man. Howell is still, I think, a risky proposition. Because if the Commanders are anything good and he's not good enough, that defense might be good enough to carry that team a little bit. You know what? Okay. So we did force the Lawrence fall a little bit. I think we can force it further. So we're going to take Michael Pittman. So he'll be our final receiver for now, I think. We have Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman. Would have liked one of the Seattle guys to come back, so I could have correlated with Johnson here, but that didn't happen. So we're going to take Pittman, and we'll see if we can get another celebratory AR share. So as historical anomalies pointed out earlier, so I can earn wearing that AR jersey here on stream. Hey, we all could use a good morning Chubb. Sometimes it's the only Chubb you get in a given day. Elite QBs going early and doubling up means loving having Lamar at cost. I think that's a fair way to look at it. I've thought the thesis all along with the elite QBs was that, you're better off just targeting other guys and hoping that the field of 29 QBs can beat, the 3 QBs who are going a little bit too high. Still have no issue. Like if you have, 8% Josh Allen, 8% Jalen Hurts, 8% Mahomes, like that's fine. I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But I think the way you win a BDM is by just being willing to get different with a lot of the portfolio. If you're going over on those guys, I think that's where the mistake is, especially if you're not like letting them slide to you. There was a guy in the last chat who was like, yeah, you got to get Allen the second round every time. And it's like, no, then you're going to be one of the chalkiest possible builds that also has no leverage to like climb. I don't think that's the right move. Is there an indie tight end worth targeting? Jelani Wood scares me. He should scare you at this point. The fact he still hasn't practiced at all with his hamstring issues is not great unless that's changed in the last day. Okay. Deet Feet's a fucking idiot. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence. Anyway, in a room where there isn't a fucking idiot at the 2-hole, you can push Trevor Lawrence. So let this not be proof against my concept. Let it be proof that Deet Feet's a buffoon. All right. Let's go get some other positions, though. There are other ones out there, if I had to guess. Darren Waller makes a lot of sense for this build. Darren Waller, our week 17 correlation for Cooper Kupp. I do want to get a little more Darren Waller. Don't want to pay in the 50s for him. So getting him 6 pecks after ADP looks pretty good. But gee whiz. The snipe was avoidable. I don't view Trevor Lawrence as the guy who's going to make or break a team for me. I know people love him. I know he's been really accurate in camp and things have looked good and all that. I just don't think he matters as much as like Ridley. Ridley having standalone value is fine. I just think that Lawrence doesn't stoke my fire as much as he should for how much people love him. So I'm perfectly fine getting sniped there. But like, I made the right move here. You always push the QB if you can. I'm more of a believer in closing up stacks if they're an important stack to you, if you think they're going to build around them. If I had gotten, I don't know, a Carolina guy early, and I was like, I have to really build Carolina Jacksonville for week 17, then I might be more inclined to say I need Trevor Lawrence as part of that build. But in general, I don't know. Like Fields, to me, we know what Fields said that makes him a smash. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know. Even Watson, like Watson runs a little bit more. You know what makes him a smash. Lawrence, like he runs a little, throws okay, but I think there's going to be more running touchdown ability for other guys there this year. I'm just not crazy about Trevor Lawrence. But you're right, the snipe was avoidable. Why take Lawrence if you can get Tua for cheaper? That's also true. I would much rather have Tua, I think, than Trevor Lawrence, just because I think the likelihood of Tua getting there, if Tyreek or Jalen Waddle, or both especially, have outlier games, I think Tua is going to get there and make your lineup. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, like I think, can have 18-point games that kind of do nothing for you. And are okay is like a floor kind of, projection thing. But I don't think he excites me much from a ceiling perspective. I'm willing to be proven wrong, but yeah. If I can't get Trevor Lawrence at like big discounts, I just don't care. I don't think that tilt's correct, 10-minute. I don't think you should take AR there. That's not where AR is priced. Why would you? AR has an 180p. You don't take him at 91. That's foolishness. It's absolute foolishness. You had so many other options here. You can take Tua. We just talked about him. He's great. This Dallas Goedert fall, also insane. Dallas Goedert is so well positioned to be a top tight end this year. It's been crushing in camp too. Any sort of contingent value that goes his way because if something happens to Brown or Devontae Smith, I think would certainly benefit Goedert. But Goedert also the top tight end last year in terms of the advanced metrics, the EPA numbers and DVOA. Goedert to me like shouldn't be going here. I took Waller where I had to because I wanted to get the correlation with Cooper Kupp. But Dallas Goedert, I think, is not the one. 10-minute snipes AR. Well, good news, AR. We're going to get revenge for you. 10-minute, take a fucking lap, you piece of shit. You'll fucking come in my stream and take AR from me when I've planted the flag. How dare you? Run a lap. Run a 10-minute lap. All right. We're going to take value. James Conner here is our first running back off the board. Go touch some grass. 10-minute said he wanted to touch grass. So good news. You can go run. go do some suicide sprints outside for daring to take AR on this glorious AR starter day. I guess he had Jonathan Taylor, though. Anyway, house rules in Splash Play, if you're not familiar. If you snipe me on a QB and you have the audacity to vaguely taunt me about it in chat, you get a 5-minute timeout. Them's the rules. Yeah, you don't go against the family. Wait, was this rat 10-minute? This rat 10-minute trying to take AR? No, no, no. I gotta wet my beak on AR. 10-minute, you don't even have an AR jersey. How? That's true. You can only snipe me on AR if you prove that you have an AR jersey you have bought from NFL.com lovingly months in advance. If this was super flex, Deet Feet would still find a way to fuck it up. He got a good value on Isaiah Pacheco, so he's got that going for him. The 2 receiver build through 9 rounds with 3 elite QBs. Unbelievable. That's her. 10-minute didn't want me to clothe back up. He probably wanted to see these sweet titties out on stream. He's hoping if he took AR, I'd remove even more clothes. But no, no, no. No, no, no. All right, we got a 0-1-6-1. At some point, you got to think we need other players besides receivers. but we're not there yet. Dalvin? Ugh. Dalvin's going to get more expensive, but I just don't like him. I'm taking Rashad Penny again. Play the hits. I do think getting Gainwell at this point is a more reasonable play than Penny, a little bit ahead of ADP. But for me, Gainwell, I think it's hard to pinpoint the ADP, people reaching all over the place for him. So definitely one of those that I feel like are harder for me to pinpoint Gainwell. So I'm going to take the sure thing and getting Penny now. Viking Nomad wanted me doing Dalvin. Yeah, that's fair. And a good point by Viking Nomad here. Never let anyone outside the fantasy family know what you're thinking. I think never let anybody on a stream know what you're thinking. It's probably the parallel I would say the most. And honestly, anybody who watches a Splash Play stream, oh yeah, you had to get AR so you get Dak at 102, 10-minute. I'm glad I timed you out. I'm glad. You can come back in 2 minutes or so and you can talk all about the QBs you took to ruin our days. Bullock wants to see my sweet titties on a stream. Why else would I be a member? That's true. That's true. The only value I have in the fantasy community is this luscious rack of mine that I put out there. Oh, you can't even see it because of the mic. I'm like a tease. I'm like one of those Instagram influencers. Like, go click the link in my description, and you can only see this. Who knows what mysteries will lie when you click that link? Deet Feet probably wins creamy sauce. Deet Feet has an absolutely terrible team. I will say too, and this is something I can just be mean to Deet Feet. The reason you don't take the elite QB is because QB is the one position in anything fantasy wise where that guy can have as good of a game in the 18th round as a guy you took in the 3rd round. And obviously Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like those guys are all fantastic real life and fantasy QBs. But the reason that you don't necessarily want to take them as much is that if Kenny Pickett throws 3 touchdowns and splits between George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, you now have cut your parlay from the lineup and what you needed out of your team that week by so much. Whereas if Jalen Hurts has a good game, like, yeah, he probably takes AJ Brown or Devontae with him, maybe Dallas Goedert. But he also could just run for 3 touchdowns and just sneak it up the middle a bunch of times. Like, there's a lot of ways for that not to make sense and still not help your team as much as it could. Whereas if, like, again, if Pickett gives you 20, Hurts gives you 23, but you don't nail the correct parlay with the Eagles, like that gets a little bit tougher. So that's why for me, I think that people really sleep on the late QBs. And I know I've mentioned this a few times on stream a few years ago when I was first trying to figure out how Football Outsiders could cover best ball and do some interesting things. We had our data guy, Scott Spratt, who was our fantasy guy then too, is now at FTN if you care about following his work. He basically dug through a couple years of data and found that the best, correlation was going to be these later ADP QBs that then drive up their later ADP receivers. And then both parts of that end up excelling in a meaningful way. So like Hurts is great. Hurts, Brown, Devontae Smith, if you can get that stack, you take it, but it doesn't have anywhere to go. Like it's priced for the ceiling outcome already. Whereas like a Goff stack theoretically has some wiggle room to go up. A Pickett stack definitely has room to go up. A Love stack has room to go up. That's where the biggest value is. So that's why a team like Deet Feet to me is absolutely dead in the water here. If that makes sense. Hold on a minute. Okay, it's 10 minutes defending himself here. Hold on a minute. I have JT. That's more investment than you had. Also, QB's already dried up. Need to salvage this team. Blame the guy going triple elite, not me. I'm still blaming you, but you've served your punishment, so welcome back. Though not to the family 10-minute. You are now, at best, a cousin who's not blood related, but we refer to you as cousin. You're like on the bear. You're the guy we call you cousin. You're like, cousin. But it's like, this fucking guy. This guy's up to no good. Can't trust him. All right. Couple picks coming up here. 0261. Oh, here we go. Don't snipe Daniel Jones. Thank you, Viking Nomad. You've reminded me I should take Daniel Jones here. That was close because I almost forgot that I had Darren Waller. So I have Daniel Jones at QB, James Conner, Rashad Penny at running back. Definitely need some more running backs, which is why my brain immediately went there. But we'll see what we can get later on. Receiver, we got Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, and then Darren Waller at tight end, who now correlates with Daniel Jones. And I would say, too, the Waller-Jones stack's probably a little bit underrepresented because of the fact that you do have to decide on Daniel Jones a little bit earlier if you do take Darren Waller. Correlation for Taylor AR definitely isn't as strong, though. That's true. That's true. It's fine. It's fine. Look, I'll have more than enough AR by the time this all comes to wraps. I think sometimes people are a little bit bothered, too, that I'm not, like, putting AR in every single team that I'm doing. And I just, that's just not the way to draft. I believe in the guys so much. You could see the joy on the last stream I did with Pete. Like, boy, that made me so happy to hear that he's officially the starter. But if you're drafting anybody, 100%, I would say for me, even 50%. I know it's worked out for a few of the winners in the past, but I just would not. I would not make that a core play. I would not make that a feature. I think that's a bug if you draft too much of one guy. In honor of Spags, is drafted AR at 124 on DK just now. Well, when they find out that he's starting in 3 weeks, like literally they're going to find out in 3 weeks because of how DK goes. If he had like lightly hurt his pinky finger, they would know immediately and they'd avoid him. But him being a starter, they have not been keyed into that yet. So I think Pirine is a nice little discount here, but I think Tank Bigsby's on the way up, and I'd rather get a share of him with our little micro bet on Jacksonville. So we add Tank Bigsby to Rashad Penny, James Conner. Not the sexiest RB room, but I like the room. I also feel like we haven't talked about Tank Bigsby a lot lately, but he's been a lot of social media hubbub of the Etienne battle, people trying to push towards, oh, you should take Travis Etienne. No, you shouldn't take Travis Etienne. The one thing I will say to defend my stance on that, which has been, don't take Travis Etienne in his ADP right now. Take him if he falls sometimes, maybe. Don't take him at ADP. This team has given you so much signal that they don't trust Etienne. Last year, starting the year with James Robinson, who they ended up cutting, but they were in practice. They had Travis Etienne practicing alongside James Robinson, and we're like, yeah, you know what? James Robinson, Travis Etienne, pretty much the same player. Let's just run him out there for even touches. Robinson gets cut. Then Etienne gets the bell cow work. He's really involved. Then he gets hurt a little bit. Then they also realize he can't pass protect that well in some key matchups. They then go to JaMychal Hasty. Then when the season ends, they add to Ernest Johnson. They draft Tank Bigsby. It looks so bad for Etienne with what this team has done. And then there are still people on social media who are like, yeah, Travis Etienne, he was a top draft pick. He's so good. It's a new coaching staff. It's a new front office. They don't care about when a guy was drafted previously. The reason people that draft capital matters is because teams want to prove themselves right. So they give these guys all the rope they can to succeed because that's their first round pick. This is not Doug Peterson's first round pick. So that's something that I think matters a lot too, that the fantasy football data guys who look at the last 10 years, look at his rush yards over expectation. It's like, if you can't read what teams are doing, I don't think you should be doing fantasy stuff. I would argue that Etienne is one of the riskiest spots. Like, we're going to talk a lot about Stevenson. We're going to talk a lot about Breece Hall as relates to those signings. But Etienne has had such bad signal for over a year now. And there are still people out there trying to sell you on him on Twitter. And it fucking drives me nuts. And doesn't mean anything bad about them. They're seeing something different. But I think it shows a lack of knowledge of how teams build and what they do. That's a rant that I've been wanting to get out for a little bit. And the way to do it was drafting Tank Bigsby to get there. Drafters must be sad seeing every best ball contest on DK and Underdog is going to fill with ease. DraftKings might not. I think DraftKings is going to have to give some bonuses down the home stretch and probably some tickets like people playing MLB or UFC slates or whatever. But yeah, drafters, yeah. more power to him. Seems like people enjoy the experience there. It's not something I'm trying to put in my portfolio unless they were asking actively to have Splash Play do drafters content. So check it out. I will always say too, my Power Impact, who did a stream with us last year, which is still on the channel, by the way, if you want to learn some stuff about Fantasy Cruncher and how to use it for football season. He had a killing on Super Draft, and he's like a great DFS player, but he would play on Super Draft all the time because it was much easier to win on Super Draft. I think that's probably the case for drafters as well, but you only have so much time. There's only so many drafts you can do. So you got to spend your money the way that you're going to enjoy. Oh yeah, there we go. Etienne is going to play wide receiver snaps. So yeah, he's going to be running out of the slot like nobody's business. Never mind that they have 3 receivers or anything. It's, man, the gymnastics that people put themselves through to like, and I'm sure I do it too. And I'm sure you guys probably can identify crutches that I have with guys, but it comes from the same place of like having now, studied the stuff for enough years, having had more information added, having gone to, a site like Football Outsiders for whatever flaws there may have been. There's something I don't talk about a lot on streams. Of like, we worked with the Chiefs last year. It was contractually, I'm not allowed to say that, but it's on Splashlight. Nobody cares. We worked with the Chiefs. I had to do meetings with like Chiefs people, with their analytics guys. So like, I know this stuff more than I might put out there as the local buffoon. 1-3-6-1 running backs have been getting crushed. We're going to reach for Roshan here. I have enough Roshan, but in this particular build, I need a running back pretty bad. So we're going to take a running back here. But yeah, the ATN thing just been driving me nuts. You got to learn team motivations. And I think you can. I think it's something you can learn by just doing this for a few years, following the process from March through August, and you start to notice trends and how things are covered. When teams talk to beat reporters about something, like read every athletic article like we talk about, read all the social media posts, follow the NFL beat writers handle, a great one on Twitter. You can get better at this stuff, but I think sometimes people just kind of want to look at the same data points, and I do too, but I want to do everything. You want to get the whole picture. I think it's the best way you do things. The Chiefs got game books and stuff from FO and also had some extra data that was not public data. But they had we have like a back-end software that simulates things and also breaks down like their usages and things. So basically they were paying for that. And also we're very curious about DVOA writ large, just in general. But a lot of teams use DVOA as part of their process. That's the other thing too. That's why it's funny to me when people are like, oh, like DVOA, blah, like that doesn't matter. It's like, I can tell you that I think like at least 25 NFL teams at least have that as part of their arsenal. So that's why it sucks that Football Outsiders got fucking strip mined and we're going through what we're going through because there's a very influential site for a lot of people out there, myself included, but also NFL teams. Penny over Vaughn. Yes. I'm still not a Deuce Vaughn believer. I know the weekend sold people on him. I don't think that holds up over the course of a season. Deuce Vaughn is too small. He is too small and he doesn't miss tackles. And those are very dangerous things for anybody. All right. 1-4-6-1. Running out of QBs a little bit here, but I think we got some time. I am just going to take Mostert here to get a little more talent in a running back. This is obviously a 0 RB build, even though we got a guy like James Conran as a bit of a value. So I do want to get some volume in here with us going so early and so heavy at receiver early. But there we go. Any fantasy flock impersonations here? I feel like it has to occur organically. Well, there's one player I would take in every single draft. It would be Travis Etienne. Did you see this guy's role when after James Robinson got cut, before they realized they didn't want to play JaMychal, they didn't want to play him. They wanted to play JaMychal Hasty. You simply have to scoop up Travis Etienne. Doesn't matter what pick. Take him number 1 overall if you see him there. Just a brilliant play, a brilliant player, and a man that will win me money only if week 17 games get canceled once again. Here we go. Just for creamy sauce. I try. Again, the inspiration has to occur. That might not have been the best impression in the world. And it just sounds like Pete. Oh. I heard Pete doing, he has to do the gravelly voice because Scott Hansen said that, which I think Pete and I have the similar affliction of neither of us having more. We're both more nasally than gravelly. So we, I don't know if I could do a regular gravelly, but like, hey, you guys don't want to take. I feel like I sound like a guy trying to hit on a child at a school. with this. Hey, you guys don't want to take Travis Etienne too early, baby. You want to get Tank Bigsby at pick 124. Got to get gravelly here on Red Zone. What do I do if Fantasy Fox takes on BBM4? Quit. Honestly though, like he's learned enough, from being around the underdog guys, from talking about the stuff, from being ostracized last year, that I do think he's probably more alive to actually have a legitimate good showing this year instead of just like winning a high dollar tournament where a game got canceled. So I think that for him, I think he's got a good shot. And like he's doing his thing. I know like I come off like maybe I hate him. I don't hate him. I don't hate anybody. Any content creators doing their thing, more power to them. I just want you guys to get good info. It's always what I've ever wanted, is to give good info from me, but also for other people to give you good info. And that's why, like Pat wins, fantastic. Pete, like if Pete were to win, a little bit less fantastic, but still, still fantastic. But no, like I just care about people not doing stupid things that waste money. That's always been my biggest thing. Ever since I was at Stochastic and saw people every day playing daily fantasy sports slates and like having credit card debt or medical debt or whatever, lost their job. And it's like, fuck, man, I just don't want these people to lose. Like now it's, it's a luxury if you're playing best ball, but I just don't want people to lose. You forgot my man. You also forgot to say I won 150K last year in fantasy. Oh wait, you can't say that. Oh, that's tough. No, I only won. My profit was not 100K. I'm going to say that. I did profit last year though. Profited in best ball and in DFS. So I can't complain. Boy, Derek Carr fallen pretty big in this room. Doesn't make sense for me, but I am going to take old Brock Purdy here and just lock that down. So we do have our second QB in the mix. Brock Purdy, of course, correlating here with Ayuk. Would have liked to have gotten Eli Mitchell, but he goes. So whatever. Is what it is. What the fuck is this Prophet? Prophet is a very elusive creature here. And it sucks too, like, because for me, I would have won, I think, $10,000-ish at least, like, assuming that Joe Burrow had put up an okay game, because I had a 0 at QB, again, due to Trey Lance being the guy who was on my finalist team. So if Burrow gave me anything more than the 4 points he gave me, I would have jumped a lot of spots instead of just finishing at 200. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm excited for showdowns. If you missed last year's showdowns, did have a couple first place finishes in showdowns, one for 20K plus. I don't know, it's 25K plus. So we'll go back to that this year, but excited for DFS. I'm hoping I'll get some free stochastic sims this year so I can add that to my process. We need 500 more subscribers for the drunk draft. Hit the button so you are not subscribed. We need drunk Spags to beat. That's true. If this channel hits 3,000 subs and Pete hits 15,000, we will be doing a drunk show. That is the one promise I got out of Pete here for that milestone. So help us out. We're about 500 subs away, as I saw this morning on the channel. So help us get there to 3,000. Please, please. Be nice to hit 3,000. I'm very glad that you guys watch the streams. Genuinely, it means a lot to me. It brings a lot of joy that we sometimes get more views than like legitimate companies out there. But got to keep it pushing. If you can't keep getting better yourself every day, what are you going to do? Good. Defeat gets 2 more tight ends. At least he's stacking them up. No, never mind. Never mind. He has an unstacked Jalen Hurts. Defeat, just a buffoon. One of the biggest buffoons. Guys, I finally got a draft. You picking out the 101. Oh, there you go. Accidental victory. Shout out to Jeff. Jeff, one of our newer regulars here who I'm glad to see in the mix. All right, what are we going to pick here? I think could use at least one more running back. Maybe could use a third QB. Definitely need a second tight end. I think Kendre is an okay value at this point. Kendre, you can see in the headline there, but a minor knee sprain. I guess you can't click it over here. Minor knee sprain for him was a 1 to 2 week recovery window. So good news on that one, given that he did hurt the same knee that he hurt back in January in the college football playoffs. But Kendre, I think a solid pick at this range. I just have so much of him at a little bit of a higher price that I'm not dying to take him at 172, but I can dollar cost it down. Late swapped Ertz out of an Eagles Cowboys showdown and cost myself 140K. That was neat. Showdowns are tough, man. And showdowns too, like, I don't think you need 150 entries to win a showdown, which is why I do enjoy them, because I don't want to plunk down, the 1,500 to 3,500 per slate that you have to for some showdowns. But I think you can build like a pretty good run of unique lineups for 20 to 50 entries. So that was what I had the most success with in showdowns last year. But obviously, it's always going to be better if you put in 150. But I do think like 150 entry showdown maxing over and over and over again. I know from some of the pro players who I know fairly well, that could be a bit of a money pit. So but we'll have the showdown videos back this year. I think some people actually did pretty well with those last year. I know obviously I did pretty okay too, but the showdown videos will definitely be a feature of Splash Play again this year because I think that is the one micro DFS slate that there is a bit of an edge. The main slates, it's a tough one. That's where you lose the money. But showdowns, I think you can put up some good teams every time out. I do 5 max and showdown, just put in everything. That's smart. Yeah, less lineups and showdowns always going to be better for you. But I'm excited for showdown season. I did the one Hall of Fame game showdown and haven't touched preseason DFS last weekend since that. But regular season showdowns are a good time. And I'm curious to see how they move the pricing around too this year, because last year they definitely made it a little less advantageous to always put wide receivers at captain. Maybe they'll change something fun this year. Do have 3 more picks here, so I'll quickly pander. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button. Leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. I always reply to every comment, as the people who are regulars here can attest, but I really would appreciate the subs and the love and all that stuff. So please do that. And of course, use that promo code SPLASH. If you're new to Underdog, double your deposit up to $100. I know we've gotten some new signups here. Some people who've never played on Underdog and played on DK, kind enough to use the promo code SPLASH, but go use it for yourself. If anything, if you deposit $100, they will match that, give you $100 free. If you deposit $25, they'll match that too. So definitely a good promo code to use. If you, for some reason, have not played an Underdog yet, please do that. I think there are diminishing returns past, say, your first 50 showdown lineups. It's probably true. The way you want to play them, if you're going to play 150, is like you play the most unique angles for 150, then, but you're going to lose a lot of slates then if you are playing 150 the way you're supposed to play showdowns. So I would agree. Like, I think it's diminishing returns, but there's a logic why people do that. This is honestly a pretty nice fall for Kenny Pickett. Wasn't necessarily planning on a 3 QB build, but we've got enough receivers. I might tack on another giant, but I think Kenny Pickett here is a nice value. 20 spots after ADP. Hard to argue that. Is fantasy football actually a good way to make money if you have good information resources like YouTube videos? That's a tough question to answer, Jordan. If you're willing to invest the time in to do it and you could absorb some loss, I think it's a good sport. My favorite sport is still basketball in terms of the profit upside for limited entries. I won my biggest win ever was what was it, 70K. Was just putting in 4 entries into a 150 max tournament, and because I picked a unique angle, I won off of that. So that's always gonna have a soft spot to me. And I was on a hot run too that period where I won like 3 tournaments in a month. So NBA I think is the best one if you're going to put in time and resources and then go into it. But football, best ball I think is good to potentially win money. If you're looking for a quick fix though, I would say no. Like if you're broke and you're like, fuck, how do I win money fast? I don't think football is a sport for you. You're probably better off like doing betting like MLB weird lines, betting WNBA mispriced lines. I would say that would be how I would answer that. But I think football, you do get a lot of what you put into it, but it's also like so volatile that sometimes you can get the macro completely right, as I have in the past, and then you just don't actually have the results to show for it because this 1% owned player put something up and somebody had that in their simulated results. And, like that's the kind of thing that happens in NFL. Yeah, there we go. 10 minutes right here. Consider it gambling. It's just more drawn out. There's more edges to be had. I think with best ball specifically, with DFS, man, you can take a big beating night to night, week to week. Best ball, you'll see in January. The best ball, yeah, like there's more of an edge for that. But for DFS, I would be careful. That's also true. That's what I did in college. I would go to Circus sometimes. I'll just grind out the $5 tables. So yeah, go play nitty poker with drunks. It's a sad way to look at it. I hope are you doing a bit? So best ball? If you're new to best ball, and I'm going to take this at face value, let me make my pick. We'll answer it. What's best ball? I need the second tight end. Let's do that somehow. Does anybody correlate at all? Just nothing correlating nicely. I'm going to take Hunter Henry for a floor at tight end. Don't love it though. So best ball is just going to be a format where you do one draft, 18 round draft on Underdog, 20 round draft on DraftKings, and then your team sets itself accordingly. Watch videos here. The main 3 rules I would give anybody starting out in best ball would be try to at least double stack your QB. You know, it could be pass catchers, could be the running back, but try to get at least 2 players of the same team correlated with each of your QBs. You also should try to game stack a little bit, you know, correlate for week 17 is the thing we talk about a lot here. But really the main thing is going to be, you know, trying to double stack your QBs and then trying to also take guys at ADP or take values if they come up in ADP. That'd be the way to handle best ball. And then best ball, you just don't touch your lineup for the entire time period. It automatically optimizes for you. How would you find mispriced WNBA lines? We're just here for Jordan here. This is a stream to help Jordan out. Who's hopefully not a real life heckler. WNBA lines, you know, there are tools out there. I have one that we're going to launch soon called Probly, which you can get on the wait list for at Probly app, PROBLY app.com. Now it seems like he's feeding these questions to me to get me to do some plugs. But also OddsJam is the technology we use. They have similar things going on there. That's how you would do that for a sport like WNBA. Usually there'll be lines out there where the true probability aligns and then would provide expected value that's positive if you find the right line at your local sports book. But it's hard to kind of give you the 1-minute answer here, Jordan, if you're really looking for money. How many Spag Stacks episodes do I have left to do? I don't know about episodes. I do have 7 teams left. So I'm trying to save those for Fridays, I think. What I'm going to do is probably do 3 straight Fridays with them. 2, 2, 3. I think we'll do like a finale 3 in a row Spag Stacks. But yeah, 7 teams left. So if you've missed those, by the way, there is a playlist of all the Spag Stacks episodes where I try to go out of my way to get teams based upon a randomizer wheel spin. And sometimes gets fucked up along the way. It's the best way to put that. But worthwhile checking out the playlist for that too. Who's my Jammy Sports talking about? Who walked to the medical tent? Oh, Justin Ross. Not a big Justin Ross guy, so that wouldn't affect me too much, but definitely not great to see a guy that people want to see out there. Was so great at Clemson, and now people have been dying to see what he can do on a pro field. And now he's finally in shots, actually get some reps. So hopefully Justin Ross is okay, but you never know. You never know, especially guys with reoccurring injuries like that. Might not be 3 Fridays left. Might fill August 31st. We'll see. It's only 67% right now, but I don't have, you know, a great read on how these things actually fill, you know, based upon the rate they're at. All right, so we got this 3-6-6-2. Would like to get one more tight end. I think I'm going to take a tight end that you guys don't like very much, but I think he makes sense for this build. All right, so I want to get correlation. Kenny Pickett's still here. We didn't get my usual correlation with Jalen Warren at running back. So I am going to take Darnell Washington. Playing in a lot of 2 tight end sets. Has been a goal line monster so far, an end zone monster for these guys. I think he is worth taking in a 3 tight end build like this one where we just want some upside because of Hunter Henry being there. And Darren Waller, you know, we know his injury history, older guy. I think he's a good pick to take. Crushed in training camp so far, but I do want to give myself some safety at that position a little bit more. So my final team here, 3-6-6-3. Daniel Jones, an extreme 0 RB one too, we'll point out. Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett, running back, James Conner, Rashad Penny, Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson, Raheem Mostert, and Kendry Miller. A receiver, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, and then a tight end, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, Darnell Washington. That is the last team that I can possibly draft today. So any Bellinger shares? No, none for me. I think he is squeezed too hard. I might have some pre-draft for the big board, but he's not gonna have a role with Waller unless Waller gets hurt. Either way, guys, here we go. Started calling multiple players in the same team Spag Stacks instead of just Stacks. Hey, let's rebrand Stacks as Spag Stacks. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me here. Genuinely, it's a lot of fun doing these streams with you guys. I appreciate the chat. I'm glad to see some new people asking questions. I know it's sometimes weird to see somebody come in and I have to tell them what best ball is, but that's what I want this channel to be, is like we're welcoming, right? We're like a mean but welcoming. That's the goal. But make sure to please subscribe to this channel. I'll put in the request one more time. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Really, I will reply to anything, any questions you have. If you want some more information, please leave a comment. I'm happy to reply. But I do appreciate each and every one of you. Join down below. Join the Splash Play family, $4.99 a month if you want me to review your teams, as well as other perks that we're going to have rolling out. And you get a fancy little helmet if you ever appear in chat. So that's fun too. And of course, use that promo code SPLASH down below if you want to double your deposit up to $100 on Underdog. Great way to support the show as well as your own bankroll. So please go do that. And I'll be back tomorrow. I think actually we're going to push DraftKings to Thursday because I thought it made more sense to do DraftKings on Wednesday, but I think it got less views. I don't know why. But the DraftKings stream on Thursday is a lot of fun if you want to see me suffer through getting sniped and stuff. But tomorrow we'll do a draft right after Peach stream ends on here as well. And we'll hit some BBM drafts again tomorrow. So thank you for hanging out with me. Appreciate all you guys. Good luck in your drafts. See you guys again soon. Good luck.